Hi there, I'm Katie Wagner. Welcome to Social Media Help Desk. This is the time every week when we sit around and talk about what's new in social media and some of the tips and tricks and things that have worked for us here at the agency this week. I'm here with our website and video project manager, Alexandra, and our junior content editor, Ivana. And we have lots to talk about today, including some. So the breach took place over 11 days. So they had a breach and it took 11 days for them to stop and say, no, we know things are secure again. And so the questions are, was data being shared through that entire 11 days? Or was the day that the engineers noticed something was wrong, was that the day that most of it happened? Or had things been going on before this time and they don't know how long there'd been a breach of data? So basically there's a lot of questions. Facebook still isn't saying a lot about it, only that it took 11 days to fix the problem of people stealing data from the site. And they have a lot of explaining to do. So as you remember, one of the things that this breach affected was if you log in with your Facebook account to other third-party apps like Tinder, Spotify,
anything. I mean, so many things have
any
that.
of those things that use the Facebook identification to log you in, those could have been affected. Those accounts could have been affected as well. So best practice is to change your password on your Facebook immediately and then on all of those accounts that you use Facebook to log into as well.
Some shopping sites do that too, where you can log in and create an account as a Facebook user, and that is a potential dangerous breach as well.
Yeah. Would that affect Instagram because they're connected? Or?
Potentially, I would
probably.
think. Yeah, because it's locked in. So anything that is attached to your Facebook page could be at risk, so just keep an eye on that. And I'm sure Facebook will have all the answers for us very, very soon. So the other thing that we do have answers on, and this is not really that surprising, but apparently there is a fake news ecosystem on Twitter. Who knew? Yeah.
Surprise, guys.
Some people are putting out fake news over tweets. And in fact, it's a lot of fake news. They say that there were 4 million tweets linked to fake news and conspiracy found between March of 2017 and April of 2017. So Twitter has confirmed this. They said before and after the 2016 presidential election, they've noticed activity in this fake news ecosystem, and they're trying to put some steps in place to keep that from happening or to somehow weed out fake news. So it turns out you can't trust everything you read on the internet, so be careful there. And then lastly, our piece of news, Instagram recently went down for a period of time. Maybe you tried to get into your Instagram and the note you were seeing said, couldn't refresh the feed. Well, that's because no one could refresh the feed. It was down and everybody kind of panicked about it. It's amazing. You never realize how addicted we are to things like Instagram until you can't use it.
And I didn't even notice. I mean, every time I went on, it wasn't. It was fine.
I somehow missed it too, but that being said, it's like when all of a sudden, the world goes nuts and then Twitter suddenly has a brand new hashtag that we're all talking about.
Yes, Instagram down. That was the hashtag they used. Instagram down. And so people can't use one social media, so what happens is
they complain somewhere else.
So they swarmed to Twitter, they complained about
Twitter's the first place to go
when
something's happening.
It's fixed now, so everything should be fine now, but there was a period where you could not see the Instagram feed, and it almost caused panic among everyone. So, one of the things that is so interesting is all of this stuff changes so frequently on our Instagram or our social media channels, right? Facebook's dealing with security and Twitter has fake news and Instagram is having glitches that make it go down. And these things really affect our lives. And I think that's so interesting because in the grand scheme of things, maybe it doesn't affect me personally that there's fake news on Twitter, but it's upsetting. It somehow feels like a violation that bad guys, if you will, or fake people are infiltrating this ecosystem that we rely on so heavily and we really feel is a part of our lives.
Well, especially when it comes down to news in general, is that when Twitter started to become a place where people were breaking news before the news could actually break it, it became valuable to everyone all of a sudden. And so then to find out that, there was a statistic that I don't think it made it on this, but it was 80% of the fake news Twitter accounts that were spewing out stuff during the 2016 election are still active.
Yeah.
So they're still there. They haven't taken them down. And it's like, okay, well, I used to go to Twitter because I thought collectively we would get some information. And sometimes you do, but sometimes people are just going, oh, this was a catchy headline, I'm just going to share it.
Well, and yes, and that's a problem with do people retweet things without reading them? right? Maybe I would know it was fake news, but if I'm just retweeting, I may
see
not
that
notice.
all the time.
When you see a pretty picture and a nice headline, you just retweet it.
But I think that's why the epidemic, if you want to call it that, but why this spreads. Yeah, because people do share content and they pass things around. It happens on all social media.
Well, and we're getting really good at coming up with catchy headlines and pretty pictures.
Well, not we, the bad guys.
We, the bad guys.
The bad guys.
I don't mean we. I mean, we don't do that.
Still do it on the up and up. But yeah, it is funny how it does feel like an invasion, and you're right. Even as a journalist, I use Twitter a lot, right? Yeah. A lot of good news goes out over Twitter. It's an information source for a lot of people, but you do have to be careful about what you read out there. And you know, we could take it one step further and say you have to be careful about what you post out there. Because you know, with Facebook, we've seen that we talked a couple of weeks ago about how the Russians were having activity on Facebook during the election season as well, and putting stuff out there, and you know, as you're posting, who knows who has access to that information?
Well, because we know that they were taking existing information that was real information, taking those even news articles or blog articles, taking them, changing around some of the information, posting them somewhere else, and it's like, this is close enough that someone's going to think this is the right thing, and then somebody will read it and be horrified, but that wasn't true at all. So you have to be kind of careful about what you say to make sure that something can't be construed the wrong way.
Yeah, be skeptical.
Yeah.
Skeptical. Two-source confirmation. That's what I always like, right? Make sure you can find the facts in two places.
Exactly.
All right, so one of the things we focus on a lot around here is creating content for ourselves, for our clients. We have to put a lot of stuff out on social media. And often that takes the form of things like blog posts and videos. And those are the two forms of content we're going to talk about in our show today, because it's really important, if you're going to do social media well, to have a content strategy, right? We say it's never a good idea to wing it, right? Don't just sit there and say, oh, I'll just post some things. Like, you need to create content that does what? That brands you as the expert, that helps tell your story, that is a resource for your audience in your area of expertise. You know, it can really start to build you as that thought leader if you put out the right content. And it can help with things like brand awareness and even driving traffic back to your site. You know, a good call to action at the end of a blog post can do wonders to drive traffic back to your website.
Yeah, and I really think, blogging for all businesses, I think, is necessary, regardless if you're small or big. Anyone can really benefit from a blog, because you can, so many people, there's actually this little fact on here, 61% of consumers have made a purchase because of a blog. So it's pretty interesting.
I believe that. And one of the things that blogging is really good at is improving your SEO, right? If you care about how your website ranks on Google.
Yeah, and search engines will reward you for that. If you're posting a lot of new and valuable content, you're going to attract an audience that's interested in what you're talking about, and it'll help you get more just exposure online.
And the key there is new, right? Because like if I start posting the same thing over and over again, even though I'm doing something every week, it's not valuable anymore.
Consistently, if you're doing it at least once a week, that's definitely going to boost it.
So yes, duplicate content, not so good. Original content. But one of the things we know about Google is that when you add a blog to your website, Google sees that as a new page of your website. So every time you add that post, they re-index your site because there's a new page on it. And that's how it sort of comes to the top of the search engines. And then, you know, one of the things that's important is, you mentioned, they like consistency. Google likes patterns. And so if you post the new page on the same day at roughly the same time every week, that's how you get the most bang for your buck from the consistency, because they like to identify patterns and re-index your site on a consistent schedule, that sort of thing.
I think that also kind of hooks in your audience, you know, like if you know like one of a brand that you care about is posting every Wednesday at noon, like you'll be excited to, you know, to read the new blog.
Yeah, I mean, it's predictable.
You can take a page out of TV. We all got very used to when we watch a television. We don't do this as much anymore because streaming happens, but you knew that your TV show was on Monday night, Wednesday night, that kind of thing. And so it kind of, human brains like patterns too. So if I know I can rely on a company who I really enjoy to post something new and resourceful and valuable to me every week, I'm going to go look for it.
Yeah. So Ivana, walk us through some of the other things that we should know about blogs. If we're thinking about starting a blog for our company, how does one go about that? How do we come up with topics? What's important to remember?
Well, it's important to remember it really builds your brand's credibility. You want your audience to know you're the expert in your field. And so say if you're a hair company, you can write literally about anything, haircuts, hair color, any hair trends, things like that. It also drives the traffic to your website. If you're posting a lot, people are gonna want to keep going on there, and yeah.
Okay. So I always say that the best way to start if you're going to start a blog is to come up with the FAQs that you get all the time, right? What are the questions that customers or potential customers ask you over and over again? If you can list your top 10 FAQs and write a blog post that is the answer to each of those questions, you've got 10 blog posts right there ready to go.
And that's another thing that looks really good to Google, especially if you're able to phrase that question in the title. Then immediately, you know how we all have started using Google where instead of just searching a couple keywords, we now just go, forget it, I'm asking the whole question. And somebody inevitably has an answer or has asked it also.
Well, I find that I'll type in the first few words and then somebody will fill in the rest. Someone searched it before.
Yeah, I've had really weird ones come up where I was looking for parking at LAX or something, and I was like, I got where to park, and it filled in LAX, and I was like,
right.
I think somebody's following me.
Right.
Probably.
Right. But they know, because people
Yeah.
look for the same information over and over again. And that's another good idea. If you already do SEO on your website and you know about your keywords or key phrases that you're optimizing for, you can use that keyword tool to look for phrases people are typing in related to your business. And if you can then write blogs that include that phrase or are the answer to whatever that question is they're typing in, that's a great way for people to find your website. Drives a lot of new visitors back to your website and can engage them with content that's going to be helpful and really useful to them.
Yeah, and I'm sure they already have, when they go on your website, they already have those kind of questions. So already having a blog there to give them those answers is really helpful for them.
Yeah. I also think, one of the nice things about blogging in particular, and video too, we'll talk about in a second, is that it gives you original content to share on all your other social media channels. So you can share your blogs on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest even. If you have these channels set up, you take this one piece of content and it's good for your whole content strategy. You can put it pretty much everywhere. We use blog posts a lot in our newsletter, right? So if you're going to send a monthly newsletter to your audience, you gather your best blog posts and you put a blurb in the newsletter and then it says read more. Well, what happens when they click on that link to read more? They're back on your website.
I think one of my favorite parts about the blogging is you can really show your brand's personality. The voice of your tone of the blog really shows what kind of culture your company has.
Yeah, it can be brand personality, brand voice, absolutely.
Is there a percentage of resources versus maybe promotional pieces or talking about something or third-party information that you're sharing that you should do with blogs, or is it all just we're not sure, just making sure we're answering questions, of course?
I think there's two different ways to use a blog, right? When you're talking about should the content be useful, educational, resourceful, yes, I think that's most of it. That's how people are going to find it in search. That's how it's going to be a resource to people and get them to click through. But to your point, you can also use the blog for, here's a press release about our company, here's company news. Here at KWSM, we write blogs about our culture. If we had a speaker or went on an outing, we'll write blogs about that because it also gives you a window into what we're doing here. And this is why the most beautiful thing about a blog is there are categories down the side, right? And so it all goes into the same blog, but a visitor to your site can sort the blog based on what they want to read about. Here's company news, here's Facebook news in our case, or industry topics that you write about. And then it becomes this library where they get to seek out what they want. Obviously because blog posts are indexed by Google, you want to put your press releases and that sort of thing out there. If we were doing a social media boot camp, for instance, we'll talk more about that in a second. But if we were doing that, we might write a blog about those things and then drive the call to action at the end of the blog to the sign-up page. So it's good for a lot of those different things. And I don't think there's a right mix. It just depends on what's right for your company.
Depends on who your visitor is, who your audience is, really.
Yeah, and what news or information you have to share.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you don't have a social media boot camp, so you won't be writing this.
Yeah. But there's always, we have a variety of people who ask questions, come to us, and it really is not a one-size-fits-all because, sometimes if it's something legal or insurance or product related, they're going to have wildly different topics that people are going to be looking for. Sometimes it's going to be advice and sometimes it's just going to be the hot new trend. So you got to think about what people are searching for in your industry.
Right. And as far as formatting, I don't think there's a cut and dry way to do that either, because some blogs have bullet points and lists, and some of them have videos embedded or graphics, like infographics, that sort of thing. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. Ideally, you want your blog post to be at least 300 to 500 words, because that's what Google is going to need to index it. So a lot of times I see people write a couple sentences and think that's a blog, and it is technically, but it won't get you the same traction, the same pull that a fully formed article of 300, 400 words will.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I think one of the hard things about blogging is that it's a time investment, right? That it takes time to produce this content. Probably why we have jobs, right? Because not everybody has that kind of time. But I find that if you can take time to really map out a content calendar and think about, like, what topics am I, I'm going to blog every Tuesday, let's say, what topics am I going to cover this month? That helps a lot in the writing. If you already have a plan and you're not just sitting there trying to come up with something. And to do that, you should really, help me with this, but you should really think about themes in your business and what you have going on.
It really helps you also, like, going off, like, the season, fall is coming, so it's a great time to write about anything about autumn, things like that. Normally for planning blogs, I'll write them at the end of the week, but I think of my topics on Monday. So as long as I have my topic and a couple like bullet points for each little section, then I'm good to go to write it. It's really fast to write it after that. So
yeah. And as long as you have it planned out, you can think seasonally or maybe in quarters. If your business has news to share in fourth quarter versus first quarter, could you plan topics around that? Is your business cyclical in some way? Or maybe you have lots of products and services and you want to highlight, one product area or service area per month, and so maybe you're going to do 4 blogs around this particular service you offer, and then the next month it's 4 around this. I think there are different ways to segment it, but picking those themes that you want to talk about over and over again really helps make the plan a lot less stressful. It's a lot easier to execute that way. You know what you're going to talk about.
And so as a minimum, do we suggest once a week?
Once a week.
Once a week, yeah. Just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, I think once a week is the minimum.
Yeah.
Twice a week is better. More is better.
More is better.
Here we blog every day, right? And it's really good for our SEO. It gives us a big library of content that people can find on our website. But we also do it for a living. So we have a little more time
doing it too,
to take care of those things. So once a week would be minimal. I think where a blog gets you in trouble is where you say, oh, I'm going to do it. And you're really good for a week. And then 3 months go by. And it's like, if you're not going to do it consistently, you're not going to get that traction.
You need that consistency.
And plus, I think it becomes a credibility piece at that point. Because when people log onto your website and they say, oh, I'm going to look at the blog, and nothing's been written in 3 months, it doesn't make you look like you're on it.
Yeah, I assume that they put together a blog, thought it was a good idea, and then just didn't care, and it wasn't a priority. And then I go, okay, well, what else isn't a priority?
Well, it makes you think, could they take care of me and my needs, right?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to throw stones, but that's one of the things that I look at when judging people that do what we do, right? Yeah. Are they doing it for themselves, right? Because a lot of times people don't, or they don't think that's a priority, and I think drinking your own Kool-Aid is important. So you can look and see how invested is somebody in those types of activities. All right, so blogging is good. It's time-consuming because you got to write something. What if you wanted to make content that didn't involve writing, right? And this is the advent of video. Video is really popular these days. Yeah. I think it's because we have short attention spans.
It's true.
Yeah.
Right? We like to watch things.
Yes.
Sometimes reading an article is really good, and I can read it at my own pace. I don't have to watch it out loud in the office. Sometimes you just want to see a video and have somebody talk about things. And so video is becoming more and more important in a content marketing strategy. Talk a little bit about why.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of reasons why it's important. I mean, one of the things is it's a credibility piece. It looks professional, it looks done, like it's really well thought out and it's planned. And when you have a professional videographer and maybe even a photographer behind this, it allows you to be the person and the company that you want to do while someone else does it as their job.
So you're talking about hiring someone. You're not talking about why video is important. You're talking about hiring someone to do
So now
video.
don't get me wrong, I'm going to say this, I'm going to put this up front. It's good to have video on your phone if you're putting it for your business on your, the Facebook stories or the Instagram stories. Totally acceptable to have those kind of videos because they're relevant and they're what's happening right now. And we do it all the time. We're out at an event, we're doing something.
Sure.
Here's just a picture, here's just a video. We know, and our audience expects some of that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something maybe a little longer format, not too long, we don't like to go over about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, assuming that that's the right choice for you. But when it comes down to having a video that's going to give you credibility on your website, which is also something that looks very good to Google, is hiring someone to actually do it for you. Because there's a couple of reasons for this. I'm going to go ahead and walk through and we can talk about each one as we go. One of them is we know it costs money. We know it costs money. Now, if you're a business who doesn't have a videographer whose job is dedicated to that, it means you're going to have to hire somebody. If you don't, the concern is you're taking away somebody else who has another job in your business to learn to do this. And that can be difficult.
Okay.
You know, you don't want to lose that because that's money lost also. You know, so think of it as an investment that you're going to spend the money on this for the production cost because that is going to help you out later on. It's going to give you more content going forward. It's going to give you a lot of assets. And so that investment, don't think about it as it's like this is money out the window. This is something that's going to serve you for a while.
Yeah.
And another thing is that I touched on this before, is the efficient workflow. This is someone's job to video and make someone look good. And if that's not your business and you need someone else to do it, you don't have to worry about what that day is going to look like. You hire the person who's going to have a whole plan for you, storyboard it out. We make, you know, day of like schedules where it's from this hour to this hour. We're doing all of these things. We know exactly when that stuff is going to happen with leeway in case we need to shift some stuff around. We think about that. And so that gives you kind of like a little bit of ease knowing that you don't have to be in so control of what that's going to look like because you found someone you trusted to video it for you. Now, again, like I said, credibility is huge when it comes to this. In the end, you're going to have either a story video that's going to talk about your brand and why you started, or maybe it's some product videos. Maybe it's just talking about who works for you and why you're the best place to work with, you know?
Sure.
And what's great about this is we've done this in the past where you have a slightly longer format video, about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and then we cut it up into a lot of little pieces with a lot of little sound bites, and that's great for blogs or social media posts, all of that stuff. And it can be used throughout, and you can come back to them. You don't have to worry about, oh, okay, I've done this one video and now I'm done and I spent all this money and I only have the one. That's not true. You have a lot. Same goes with photography. You know, take a lot of photos and now you've got things to update your website with, things to share.
I do think it's true that if you plan a video shoot, let's say you shoot for 4 hours, have a half-day video shoot, you can create enough content that you don't need to do that every week.
Yeah.
This is a every quarter thing, maybe.
Totally.
Right? You have this content. And I think you made a good point. I wouldn't take a 1.5 minute video and share it on social and expect people to watch the whole thing, right? I would save that for something like a website or a landing page. And maybe you do need shorter clips that go on social. So there's ways to repurpose the video to play into the strengths of different channels, right? Because video, let's see, where could we share video? Same thing, places, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. You can attach it to your LinkedIn profile, right? Like I can have a video in my profile that everyone who visits my profile sees.
You can cut up some of that stuff and use it in stories on Instagram.
Instagram stories, yes.
Instagram stories. We do that for people all the time.
Absolutely. You
YouTube
can put it
as well.
Yes.
YouTube, obviously, that's the big one.
Let's talk about YouTube in a second, but we can put it in our newsletter, right? You could. I've seen people put video in their email signature, which is
I've seen that too.
Embed it there. There is a lot of stuff you can do with that content once you have it. And I suggest that if you're thinking about a video shoot, you brainstorm how are we going to distribute it before you do the video shoot. Don't make videos and then go, oh, now what? Right? Like have a plan for what topics are we covering? What length of video are we making? You know, do we need just little sound bites? Do we need more of a, you called it a story, a flow to the video? And then where's the video content going to go after that? Because there's a lot of ways you can get bang for your buck here.
Oh, yeah.
And every place you put it increases the ROI, right? Because the cost of making it gets cheaper now that you've used it at initial time. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about YouTube. All the videos need to go into YouTube.
Yes.
Right? Why?
Because it's owned by Google.
Because it's owned by
Google. And it's the second most used search engine. YouTube.
Behind Google. Google's number 1. YouTube's number 2. Google owns them both.
Yep.
So again, a lot of help with SEO here. A video can be a great way to help improve the rankings of your website, because Google likes to index their own stuff first. They like to index YouTube stuff. And there's a way to optimize the videos on YouTube for search so that they're more easily ranked by Google. If you need help doing that, we have blogs on our website that will help you, or just call us and we'll walk you through the process. It's something that you can learn to do, but you need to optimize every video when it goes out.
Right.
So I think yeah, that's really, really important to make sure that you make the most of this content if you're going to invest in it.
Yeah. And so I just, again, want to reiterate that doesn't take away from other types of content, but, you know, being able to show kind of in the same way of knowing that your blog is going to be, if it's updated regularly, it makes you look more credible and people are going to see you as a resource. Well, if you have a professionally shot video, they're going to see that you invested the time to really speak to them, you know, and resources are another good thing. Sometimes people have like about videos. We do tip of the day videos, things like that, where we're not just talking about ourselves and why you should buy from us or hire us.
No, rarely.
No, that's not what we want. Because really what we want is to do something like this, where we tell you, hey, guess what? Here's the information you want. And you can do that too. There's so many different ways to create video that's not just, hi, I'm going to talk about my business and tell you to buy from me, you know?
You know, all those topics we just talked about for blogs, they could be used for videos too.
Exactly.
I was thinking that too.
The FAQs, the education tips and tricks, all of those things, like those are great videos. So, you know, I think a lot of times people are intimidated by two things. Number one, what do I say? And number two, how am I going to look on camera? Right? Well, number two might be a reason to hire a professional. They'll take care of that part. I did write a blog about how to look better on camera, so search our website for that.
There's a tip of the day video for
Oh,
that.
a little tutorial on tip of the day.
Yeah.
But for what you can say, start easy. You know, find your FAQs. What kinds of things do you talk to clients about over and over again? And then break those down into shorter segments and talk about them. And I don't think it's the kind of thing where you need to have a big script. You need to have a teleprompter. It's got to be this big 60 minutes production. Professional video is good, but you can still just be yourself. Talk to the camera like we are now. Treat it like a person and just tell me. And sometimes you will say things like, or you'll swallow on camera. Guess what? That's okay. People want to hear you like you talk.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, that happens.
That's one thing I really like is when we have clients who come to us and ask us to help them with a story video or about their services. And I go, okay, your personality and who you are and the way you talk and are passionate about your business is really what makes this compelling to me. And it makes me want to like you and want to hire you. I don't want to hire someone who is pretending to be somebody else for their video.
Right.
So that's always been a really, you know, that's always been a passionate thing for me is when we have really cool clients and you're like, I mean, all of our clients are cool.
I was going to say, what do you mean when?
I mean, all of our cool clients, and I'm just like, I could put you in front of the camera and we will make you look good and make sure that we talk about right things. But that still comes down to the planning, and if you don't have it yourself, you can get with a team and they can help you.
Okay, so quick question before we let them go, because people always ask, what do I wear on the video? Right? And it's important what you're going to wear. So tips?
So tips are, we always suggest solid colors. We really like jewel tones. Avoid black or white. I'm wearing white right now, but I paired it specifically with this yellow vest or this yellow sweater, so I didn't look like just a block of white. It would make me look very pasty. We like to make sure that, like, if you're a cool toned person, maybe wear a warmer tone. You know, it's very thoughtful. Just gonna tell you, small patterns do not show up well on camera.
No,
at
they
all.
vibrate.
They vibrate.
Yeah, they vibrate.
It causes a problem.
I also think large patterns can be really distracting.
That is true.
Right? If you have a big floral something. That's all I'm going to be looking at. I'm not looking at your face anymore.
And that's not to say that maybe you are someone who sells like really cool jewelry. You can wear your cool jewelry. I'm thinking, you know, make sure, but if you're going to highlight that in the video, make sure that can be the highlight. You don't want to clutter it up with a lot of other things that are happening.
Also, really important tip from my TV days is you don't want to crowd your face. So like if you're going to be on camera, you want a shirt that gives you a little neckline here. And guys, sometimes it's hard because you have to wear ties on camera. And you just want to make sure that a blue shirt's better than a white shirt and a less patterned tie is better than a tiny paisley tie. So stripes are okay, but no like checks or tiny houndstooth, that sort of thing.
Simple is best.
Yeah, and I think the most important tip is really dress how you dress when you meet clients every day.
Yeah.
If you wear a suit to work every day, then wear a suit in your video. If you don't, probably not necessary to put one on because it's going to be off-putting for somebody to see you on camera in a full suit and then get to your office and you're in a polo shirt.
Yeah.
Right?
Your audience wants to see the genuine you that you are, so.
Absolutely.
And that's what video does, is it gives a genuine view into what you're like and what it's like to work with you.
Yeah.
What does it build? The know, like, and trust factor,
Yep.
right? It lets people know, like, and trust you and be more comfortable hiring you, working with you, right?
Yeah.
So actually, this is a good segue, because if you want more tips on how to create video, how to set up a YouTube channel, we have a YouTube boot camp coming up. It's the last Friday in October. From 9 to noon right here at our office in Aliso Viejo. We've taught this class 3 times a year for the past 8 years. Typically sells out. We have a great group of business owners come in, and it's an intensive hands-on coaching situation where we'll teach you how to set up the YouTube, how to create video, and we'll bring our videographer and we'll practice making some.
Yep.
So if that's something that you're interested in, go to our website. There's a workshops tab. They'll show you how to sign up. And if you happen to be interested in LinkedIn or Instagram and Pinterest, those classes are available starting this Friday and then the next Friday. Facebook was last Friday, but don't worry, we'll teach the class again. So check out that workshops page. If you need more information before we see you again here, check out our blog. We blog every day. It's kwsmdigital.com. And on our YouTube channel, which you may be watching now, we have all the past episodes of this show and our tip of the day videos. That's KWSM Team is our handle on YouTube. Otherwise, we will see you back here at 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern Time next Tuesday. And until then, have a good week.